Hello YouTube, Joe here doing a Saturday video. Yes, a Saturday video, because I didn't get it out on Friday like I wanted to. Oops. Anyways, how you guys doing? Today is the PC parts pickup of the month. PC picked up the parts that I picked up this month for November. Words. Anyways, as you guys know, my buddy was trying to get his hands on a 3090. He got his 3090. He got an EVGA For the Win 3, which so far seems to be a pretty damn good one. He seems to be enjoying it. And because he did that, he sold me that. That is a MSI, Gaming X Trio RTX 2080 Ti. And he sold me that, and then his other buddy, who's one of my video game hunting buddies, sold me his 6700K with 16 gigs of RAM and that Asus Z170A motherboard that's in there. And then they just threw in a bunch of extra stuff that I wasn't expecting. Stuff like Fallout 4, Xbox One controller, a couple of keyboards. This is a Logitech 610 LED keyboard. Weird, thought I heard a noise. A Logitech Pro 10 keyless that I gave my buddy Daniel. A Thermaltake P90 case, and I have the glass and all the other parts for it. An EVGA 850 watt G3 modular power supply. A Corsair H110. I don't know if it's an I or a Pro or not. It's an older one, but it's an H110. And a Corsair case that I had a white version of, but this one's really bad and it's missing part of it, so I'm not going to keep it. But they sold me all of that for $800 US. And what I did was, as you recall, I had an AMD setup in there. I had a damaged X370 motherboard with a working GTX, but a AMD Ryzen 2700X and a GTX 1080 Ti. Well, I sold the 1080 Ti, the motherboard, and the processor to my buddy out in California. Now, he knew that the board was wonky, but the processor was good. So, taking that into account, the board, the graphics card, the chip, and I sent him an extra X58 motherboard and some RAM that I had, he paid me $735. So, for a $65 upgrade fee, I did get a 2080 Ti. I did wind up with the 6700K, but I'm not too butthurt about that because I've been waiting to see what the next processor war is going to be like and whether or not I'm going to stick with AMD and get like the 5900 or 5800 and the Intel versions, whatever the 11 series is. I have no idea what's coming out of those. So I'm watching those and I'll decide after the first of the year which I'm going to use. For me, I do light gaming, games like Forza Horizon 4 and Doom, and games at 4 cores, 8 threads. It takes advantage of those, no problems. I'm only gaming at 1440p, so it's not like it has to be the best experience in the world. And lucky for me, I have a card that can keep up with it. Do I want a 30 series? Yeah, I wouldn't mind a 30 series, but for what I got that for, I'm doing all right. Because just that breakdown, okay, for the $800. The 6700K still sells for $125, $150. The motherboard's probably $50 to $75. So let's say $200 just for those two parts. Then you have 16 gigs of LPX RAM, not the RGB stuff. That's my 32 gig kit. But I also have the 16 gig kit in there because I was wondering if it would work because they were the same speed and latency. And it does, so there's 48 gigs in there now. But 16 gigs, that's probably another $50, $60. So let's say $250. We'll go on the low end. $250 right there. The 850 G3 power supply, if you go to buy one new, the cheapest one out there is $119. So I figure used, it's probably an $85 power supply. So there you go. That's another, let's say $80. So $330 and stuff. The Corsair 100, $80. We'll say $80. So $410 right there. The Thermaltake P90, even though I don't plan on using it, is still a $180 chassis through Newegg. So it's probably $125 used. So $125 right there, plus the, where are we at? 410, so almost $600 there. And then have we talked about the G610 yet? No, we haven't. So that's that's a hundred and no, that's an $89 keyboard, so $80. So then you're at $660. 120 for the 10 keyless Pro that I gave my buddy. So we'll say 100 for that. So when you do the math, I'm into that card for under 300 bucks. That's the way I look at it, because my intention is to sell that system, use that power supply in a system, use that cooler on a system, and sell all of that. So I anticipate what I'll be getting back, minus the 610 that I'm keeping and the 2080 Ti. So I'm basically going to own a 2080 Ti for a few $100 bucks. And you can't beat that with a stick. No matter how much you beat it, you can't beat that with a stick. While I was at it, I met with one of my other buddies who's moving and sold me basically all the remaining junk he had for just $100 bucks. He said, here, give me $100 bucks, and I gave him a 2 terabyte hard drive, an extra one that I had laying around. He's like, cool, evens. So then he gave me this Dell all-in-one, had no CPU in it, so I threw a 4590T that I had laying around, and 8 gigs of RAM. He wasn't sure if it worked, but it works fine. I got a second one, which supposedly will work as well, but I won't know until I put it together. Same exact chassis. Again, no CPU in it, but it looks like the chassis is a little rougher. 3 Dell convertible laptops, I think that's what they were called. It's where you can flip them around and do that to them. One has an i5. This one that works has the i3, and for $45 I'm going to add an i7. Now these are touchscreen tablet style PCs, and it runs on a battery. That's too many ahs. A 4A battery. But yeah, once I do that, this will be good to go. 45 bucks for an i7 for this, and I can just swap it out in minutes. That's pretty cool. A second one, and it's really kind of sad because it even tells you when something's wrong. Me disabled. But yeah, I've got enough parts to fix that one too, as well as an entire box that has all the guts of a third one. So technically I have 3 working systems. He wanted to build this weird hybrid system of his own, and he wound up not doing it. On top of which he gave me 3 cases, and one of them actually has a system in it. 2 of them are just cheap, whatever. One's an ATX, one's an MATX, but the third one is a Phanteks Enthoo ITX case. Now, I have a couple of ITX cases, but yeah, I'll find a use for this one because Phanteks is pretty cool. It's got an old AMD Sempron system in it and some really junky graphics card. Those won't be staying in there. I'll be gutting all that out and chucking all that stuff out and putting something in there at some point. I don't have an ITX board right now, which is funny. I need to go back on eBay and get a hold of the guy. I bought some Z87 ITX boards because I have a 2500K that I think would go perfect in that case. So I figure that I'm way ahead there because these all-in-ones, when they're decent, that one's got an i5 in it. I could put an i7 if I wish to, but with that i5 in there and 8 gigs of RAM and an SSD, it's probably worth 150 bucks because it's actually a pretty good screen. The laptop that works, if I put an i7 in it, it's probably worth 150 bucks. And then if I build an Enthoo system, I'll use probably that 850 watt power supply and that all-in-one cooler in it, and I'd probably get $350, $400 for that if I threw like a GTX 960 or something in there with it. So yeah, overall 100 bucks. Probably have to invest another 50 bucks for the motherboard, and I'll probably wind up getting about 600 for all of it. So yeah, that's almost quadrupling my money. That's what I like to do with my money. I keep things that I want to keep, and I sell stuff I don't need to keep. I'm thinking about keeping this thing because I've been keeping it out here next to the next to that rig so that I could watch the YouTubes on there. I did plug in a 5G wireless adapter for it. I need to change the Wi-Fi card that's in there. All the internals are basically a laptop, so I can also swap out the RAM, put in 16 or 32 gigs of RAM and an i7. That thing would be a beastly thing. And when it's on this medical table, bedside table, I can move it around so I can take it in my bedroom when I need to relax because my foot is hurting me, whatever the case may be. Try not to sneeze here. I'm really sad. Excuse me. Gotta stop snorting cocaine before I film these videos. That's about it. I went up to the flea market with my buddy, Daniel, and I found a Note 4. I love the Note series, and this has a really good screen on it. Not as good as my Google, as it turns out. Apparently I was looking at this through mirrored shades, but I've been using it for just playing games and stuff. You can see it has a really nice screen on it. It is an OLED screen, so whatever. But I like it for games. I don't know. Had the box. That's the real reason why I bought it. So yeah, if you like that stuff, give me a thumbs up. Let me know down in the comments if you've done any hunting recently. Go ahead and snap a picture or send me over to your video. I'll check it out. Don't forget to get subscribed if you're not. If you stayed around this long, please. And that would really help out the channel. Come back for another video in the beginning of the week. I'm working on some stuff. I'm finally getting over the stomach thing. I couldn't eat without throwing up, and then when I could eat, I ate so much that I threw up. So I'm trying to find my balance again. And yeah, come back at the beginning of the week and we will see what happens. So I'm out of here. This has been Joe. This has been The Jiminy Show. And as always, I'll talk to you later.